Well, guys, I've got a brand new Master Lock 2250D from Oswaldo down in Miami. I've never seen one of these, and I don't think I've done a video on this particular Master Lock. So I'd like to talk a little bit about their good engineering versus the bad engineering, of course, and then show new pickers how I go about picking Master Locks and show you a couple of techniques. The good engineering. Well, first of all, you can see it's a shielded padlock, which means when the chain and the cable or the door hasp is on there, represented of course by my finger, the shackle is obscured. So it makes it really difficult to get a pair of bolt cutters on there or a die grind or something like that. So that's a big plus. The second big plus, and again, good engineering, it truly is a hardened shackle, and the shackle is a thick one. This one measures 3/8 of an inch, or that's about 9 millimeters in thickness. A nice, thick, hardened steel shackle to protect your stuff. And that shackle is further protected by this extended shield, hence the term shielded. On the back, it has shielding on one side, but not the other. And that's because we need to swing that open. So that's the gate to get this open. When you take a look down the side of there, typical of most master locks, you can see a spring-loaded locking pawl on the left. You can't see it on the right, but there is a cutout. I think you can see it right there. Master Lock rarely lies about that. They're usually good about putting in both locking pawls, so pretty good. They are spring-loaded locking pawls, so there's a couple of vulnerabilities. If we could get some shims inside of here, we could probably shim it. In this case, we can't do that. This side, it's impossible to get a shim in, and this side, we might be able to do it, but it'd be very, very difficult. The other vulnerability to spring-loaded locking pawls is if we take a hammer and rap on this, I did a video on that, we might be able to wrap those things simply from the vibration to knock them out of the locking pawls, the locking gates, and then get it open. This one has really strong springs in it, which prevents us from using that wrapping technique. So we're almost forced to pick this thing. Not a big deal, though. So let's take a look at the weak engineering. And that, of course, would be the lock itself. They really aren't very good locks. I don't really pay a lot of attention to the bitting of master locks. And this is what the bitting on this one looked like. Not bad. Not great, but not bad. So we're probably not going to be able to rake this, and I'm not even going to try. What I'm going to do is show you my technique and a couple of tips. Now let's look at this keyway. It's a weakness because it's wide open, man. We can drive a donkey cart in there and use a 8-foot long bamboo pole to push those pins up. The trick on this one is tensioning, so let's take a look at that. Most people tend to use, because it's such a huge keyway, you grab your thick tensioner and you just stick it in there, and then without a lot of thought, you start picking. But take a look at when I flex this tensioner, you'll notice nothing's happening. I can put a lot of tension on that, and I mean a lot. And that core doesn't move. And that's because this thick tensioner is the perfect length to wedge itself and seize the core and the body of this together. So it's not flexing at all. We're not tensioning those pins. Might feel like it, but we're really not doing it. So make sure when you take your tensioner and slide it into the keyway, come on camera, work with me. There we go. When you slide him in there and then start flexing it, notice how he's now flexing a little bit. And that tells me we're not binding those two up. So make sure your core is doing that before you even grab your first pick. All right, that's the tensioner we'll use. Take a look at that keyway now. It's huge. We could still drive a small car in there. So let's take the thickest pick that we can get in there, which is, in my case, 23 thousandth, and the tallest one. In other words, one with the deepest hook. And for me, that would usually be this one. This is my favorite pick for master locks. It is a medium hook from the Praxis kit. This one measures 23 thousandths in thickness. So what I normally do is just slide them in there and then apply heavy tension. Now heavy tension, what do I mean? You guys hear me say light tension, and when I mean light tension, I take my finger and just barely push just until I overcome that spring tension, and to me, that's light tension. On this lock, I want you to use heavy tension, and by heavy tension, take a look at my finger there. I mean, it's turning white. I mean, it really is. You can see a dent in my finger when I lift it off of there. It's a lot of tension because I don't care about the binding order of a master lock. It really doesn't bother me in the least. I'm not trying to finesse it. I'm just trying to get through it really quick. So these are made with such imprecision that the binding order doesn't matter. We can force those pins in place. So again, slide your pick in, apply heavy tension, find your first pin and then force him into place. I mean, put a lot of pressure on that pick and just push up. And if it's not going to set, don't break your pick. Right before you break your pick, stop and just move to another one. And just keep moving from pin to pin, and they will click in place. And they will force themselves to pick. Now, maybe not in the right binding order, but pretty close to it. And when you go all the way through and come all the way out, go to the very back and just start over. Just keep forcing those pins. I'm trying to be a little bit gentle here, but literally I forced them. I didn't bother to try to get any feedback through my finger. I didn't bother to try to finesse or fluctuate my tension. I just kept heavy tension and just kept moving up and down the row, forcing those pins into place without any care whatsoever. Typically, that is how I begin and end picking master locks. Pretty easy, guys. Not a lot to getting into these things, shielded or not. So this thing's got a lot of great engineering, but they definitely cut the corner when they pin these up. And they're almost all going to have and react in exactly the same way. Anyway, appreciate your time. Stay safe, stay legal. Oswaldo, thank you, sir, for the lock. And he's got a little brother. This is the 2240D. Same technique. It's the same core, slightly smaller. Same pick, same technique, same everything. Heavy tension, force them. Too easy, guys.